What if the biggest reason your luck hasn't changed is the one thing you walk past every single day? Most people think plants at the front door are just decoration, aesthetic choices, something green to make the space look inviting. But in Feng Shui, the doorway is not just a threshold, it's a filter. And the wrong energy sitting right outside can quietly turn away opportunities before they ever reach your hands. Picture this. You've been working hard, doing all the right things, setting intentions, taking action. But somehow things just stall. Finances feel tight. Peace at home feels harder to keep. You chalk it up to stress, timing, bad luck. But maybe it's not just the inside that needs clearing. Maybe it's what greets life at the door. So let me ask you, what's growing at your entrance right now? Something alive and intentional. Or something neglected, overgrown, or silently blocking the path you've been trying to open. In this video, we're not just talking about plants. We're uncovering how your front entrance speaks to the universe on your behalf, and how the right living energy can start shifting the flow of prosperity, clarity, and calm into your life. Stay with me, because what's rooted outside your home might be the very thing that decides what finally blossoms within. Section 1. 3 lucky plants for entrance energy. Number 1. Rubber plant Ficus elastica, the resilience magnet. Most people overlook it. They walk past it in office lobbies, hotel corners, or next to elevators without a second thought. But in Feng Shui, the rubber plant isn't just a background plant. It's a powerful, energetic stabilizer. And placing one at your front entrance could quietly change how your home absorbs, stores, and circulates strength. You might be surprised to hear this, but a common mistake homeowners make is placing flashy plants for beauty. Yet those plants do nothing to anchor energy. Some even drain it. They choose bright flowers that wilt in the sun or weak-stemmed greenery that droops within weeks. It looks lovely at first, but quickly becomes another forgotten object. Meanwhile, the energy at the entrance, your home's first and most important breath, remains unsettled. No grounding, no shield, just chaos drifting in and out. The rubber plant, with its thick, glossy leaves and upright form, offers something far more essential than color. In the language of Feng Shui, it embodies the wood element, but not in its wild, chaotic form. This is cultivated wood, solid, upright, grounded. Wood that bends without breaking. Its dark green surface doesn't reflect vanity, it absorbs intensity. It tempers the fire, cools the air, and calms the noise. The plant's leathery leaves retain moisture, symbolizing inner resilience, the ability to hold energy steadily without spilling it. Energetically, the rubber plant works like an emotional buffer. At your entrance, it serves as a natural shock absorber for the invisible frictions of daily life. Work stress, outside tension, guests bringing in their mood, even collective anxiety in your neighborhood. Every time someone passes through the doorway, this plant helps filter the vibration. Instead of letting it crash directly into your family's inner space, the rubber plant softens it, digests it, holds it. But there's more. Its upward growth reflects a crucial principle in Feng Shui. Kai, life force, should rise, not sink. Plants that sag or sprawl at the entrance can subtly suggest emotional fatigue, laziness, or passivity. In contrast, the rubber plant grows toward the light, steadily, quietly, with purpose. And that energy is contagious. In homes where it's well placed and cared for, people often report feeling less reactive, more thoughtful, and stronger in times of challenge. It doesn't fix problems, but it helps people face them with grounded focus. Now, what happens if this space is left unguarded, or worse, filled with plastic plants or dried arrangements? Over time, you may begin to notice feelings of fatigue as you walk into your home, frequent arguments or misunderstandings among family members, a sense that money slips away no matter how hard you try to save, delays in progress, projects that start with momentum but never finish. These are not random life patterns. In Feng Shui, they are symptoms of energy that enters unfiltered and leaves too quickly. Your entrance becomes a revolving door for stress, not a gateway for prosperity. So what can you do? The solution is beautifully simple. Introduce one healthy rubber plant near your front door. Place it slightly to the left side of the door as you're entering. This corresponds to the Zun area in the Bagua map, traditionally tied to wealth and self-worth. Make sure the plant gets medium to bright indirect light. Direct sun will scorch the leaves, but darkness will stagnate its energy. Choose a sturdy pot. Terracotta or matte ceramic in a deep earth tone works best, as it grounds the rising wood energy. Once placed, take one quiet moment each morning to touch the plant. No words needed, just connection. Dust its leaves, rotate it gently once a week to ensure balanced growth. Water when the top soil feels dry, but don't overdo it. Like resilience, too much pressure at once weakens the root. To deepen the energetic impact, you may tuck a written intention beneath the soil, something short and quiet-like. Let this space hold strong, no matter what arrives at my door. Or tie a piece of red thread around the base of the pot for activation. Over time, this small gesture becomes a ritual, a silent boundary where you declare, "This home protects what matters. This home rises with grace." And if the plant begins to droop or yellow, don't panic. Instead, listen. It may be echoing something happening inside the household. Are you feeling unsupported, overextended? Are you holding too much without release? In this way, the rubber plant becomes more than an ornament. It becomes a living feedback loop, a green pulse that mirrors your home's nervous system. Its leaves are thick, yes, but they aren't insensitive. In fact, they are deeply communicative. They just speak softly in the language of light and air and presence. So, what stands beside your door today? Something flimsy and decorative, or something that holds the line when you can't? Imagine one strong plant, rooted with care, greeting every visitor, not just with beauty, but with a quiet message. This is a home that bends but does not break. This is where strength is grown, not shouted. What kind of Kai are you letting through your door? And what could shift if even just one plant stood there with you? Number 2, Jade Plant, Crassula ovata, the fortune mirror. You may think your plant is just sitting there. But what if it's quietly reflecting back the state of your energy, your finances, and even your self-worth? That's the paradox of the jade plant. It doesn't bloom extravagantly, nor does it tower with presence. Yet in the world of Feng Shui, this small, rounded succulent is revered as one of the most potent living symbols of abundance. But here's the twist. It doesn't just attract fortune, it mirrors how you relate to it. And that's where the magic and the challenge truly lies. Let me paint a familiar scene. Someone brings home a jade plant because they heard it's lucky. They place it somewhere near the entrance, or worse, somewhere random. At first it thrives. Then the leaves start to wrinkle, dust collects, watering becomes irregular. A few weeks later, it's forgotten. They don't realize this isn't just poor plant care, it's a quiet signal. The energy of receiving, of wealth, growth, trust, is being neglected in the same way. In Feng Shui, the jade plant carries the wood element, but unlike towering trees or climbing vines, this is earthbound wood. Modest, slow-growing, compact. Its coin-shaped leaves represent metal energy and form, symbolizing accumulated wealth, while its color and vitality embody steady, rooted growth. This dual symbolism is rare, and it makes the jade plant a bridge between saving and growing, between holding value and generating new flow. The plant's growth pattern matters. It stores water in its leaves, reflecting chi retention. Its round leaf shape is considered auspicious in traditional Eastern symbolism, signaling softness, receptivity, and non-resistance, all traits needed not only for financial fortune, but for peaceful relationships and emotional equilibrium. Energetically, when placed near the entrance of a home, particularly to the left side as you enter, it begins to reflect the quality of flow into your space. But what many overlook is that the jade plant isn't just a magnet for abundance. It's a mirror for how you manage and welcome that abundance. If it's dry and neglected, it may point to overspending, avoidance, or lack of nourishment in your financial habits. If it's thriving and tended with presence, it affirms alignment. You are open to receiving and you're grounded enough to keep what comes. When the plant is misused or mistreated, whether it's crammed into a dim corner, placed in cheap plastic, or watered without awareness, you might begin to experience financial leakage. Money comes in but disappears with no clarity. A drop in self-confidence, especially around earning or self-worth. Passive energy in the home. Things feel fine, but uninspired or slow-moving. Emotional distance in relationships, especially when generosity feels one-sided. These are not metaphors. In energy terms, they are ripples caused by an energetic disconnect between how you invite wealth and how you relate to it once it arrives. The good news: a small change brings big returns. Start by giving your jade plant a place of honor. Not flashy, but clear. Choose a low ceramic or stone planter in deep green, gold, or terracotta to harmonize earth and metal elements. Position it near your entryway or in the southeast wealth corner of your home or office. Be mindful of balance. This plant thrives in indirect sunlight, so a windowsill with morning light is ideal. But here's where intention becomes transformation. As you water it, do so slowly. Feel the weight of the water. Let the sound of it entering the soil be a kind of meditation. Once a week, gently wipe the leaves with a soft cloth. This isn't just for appearance. It's the energetic equivalent of clearing the dust from your wealth mindset. If a leaf falls, don't ignore it. Ask yourself, what financial belief or emotional tie am I ready to shed? To enhance its power, you may place a single coin under the pot to seed the energy of value. Write a short affirmation, wealth arrives with ease and stays with joy, and tuck it under the soil. Use a pair of plants at the entrance to symbolize balance between giving and receiving. Over time, you may begin to notice the subtle transformations, not necessarily in sudden windfalls, but in the feeling of enough, in the quiet return of trust, in being able to give without fear and receive without guilt. In traditional Taoist philosophy, true wealth is not accumulation, it is harmony. And the jade plant teaches this lesson silently, leaf by leaf. You cannot rush it, you cannot force it, but if you care for it with steadiness, it responds not just by growing, but by balancing your inner and outer environment. Some say plants don't speak, but look closely at the jade plant. Every curve of its leaf, every drop of stored water, every quiet moment where it just is, all of it whispers a truth we often forget. Fortune isn't loud, it's steady. It's simple, and it's already in your hands, you just have to care for it. So the real question isn't just, do you have a lucky plant at your door? The question is, what does that plant say about how you care for what you already have? Number 3, Areca palm, the flow amplifier. You might not realize it, but your home could be silently suffocating, not from clutter, but from stillness. And the cure might be as simple as the gentle sway of a leaf. Most people don't think about energy as something that needs to move. They open their door, they decorate their porch, maybe they place a pot or two with something green. But if your front entrance feels flat, dull, like something is missing, you're likely missing one crucial element, the rhythm of life itself. And that's where the Areca palm comes in, not as an object of beauty, but as a living conductor of flow. This plant isn't bold or dramatic. It doesn't demand attention. Instead, it invites movement without force, softens space without overpowering it, and quietly reawakens the breath of a home. The Areca palm's long, feathered fronds ripple with the slightest touch of air, echoing the gentle waves of Kai that Feng Shui seeks to nurture at every threshold. Imagine this. A home with no airflow at the door, no greenery that moves, no dynamic energy at the entrance. Over time, that stillness hardens. Creativity slows. Conversations feel heavier. Guests arrive but don't linger. Family members speak but without warmth. There's no real crisis, just a quiet sense of being stuck. This is not a design issue. It's an energetic stagnation, and it happens more often than we realize. The Areca palm is governed by the wood element, but unlike rooted, unmoving trees, this wood breathes. It stretches wide, not tall. It dances with light and shadow. In Feng Shui, it becomes the perfect remedy for spaces where Kai has slowed but needs encouragement to return, especially at the mouth of Kai. Your front entrance. Its structure is what makes it so special. Each frond grows in parallel, like harmonious lines of energy spreading outward. This fan-like formation creates a sense of gentle expansion, a widening, an opening of space, exactly what's needed at a door that feels tight, dark, or narrow. And unlike plants with rigid forms, the Areca palm bends, sways, and adapts. It doesn't resist life, it flows with it, and that flow transfers into the home it guards. Symbolically, its fronds resemble open hands, an offering, a welcome, a gesture of peace. Placing one Areca palm near your entrance sends a clear message to both the visible and invisible world. Here, we do not block what is meant to come, we breathe it in. We let it move, and we trust what stays. When this flow is missing, the signs show up in subtle but undeniable ways. Difficulty starting new projects, relationships that feel stuck in old patterns, financial energy that trickles instead of flowing, restlessness, anxiety, or sleep that feels heavy. These aren't just mood swings. In Feng Shui, they reflect blocked Kai, especially if the front entrance feels visually closed, too shadowed, or overly rigid. Here's the shift. Introduce an Areca palm near the main door, preferably on the right side when facing inward, to encourage active, forward energy. Choose a medium-sized plant that reaches waist or chest level, not too short to go unnoticed, not too tall to overpower the space. Place it in a pot with curved edges. Rounded forms support harmonious flow, and use a color that matches your home's elemental balance. For example, white or silver pot for metal-heavy spaces, refined, clean environments. Dark green or teal for earth-dominant spaces, calming, natural interiors. Natural wood or beige for fire-heavy homes, to soften sharpness. Make sure the area around the palm allows some movement, whether from a passing breeze, ceiling fan, or open windows. The Areca palm's real power is activated when it's allowed to move, even slightly. If your entry is enclosed, add a small wind chime nearby or place the palm where natural light gently shifts throughout the day. The plant responds to light like a tuning fork, absorbing it, amplifying it, and reflecting it back into the space. Watering should be regular but moderate. This plant dislikes dryness but fears soggy roots. Let the soil speak to you. When the top inch feels dry, it's time. Wipe the leaves with a soft cloth now and then, especially after rainy or dusty seasons. And most importantly, don't treat it as decoration. Treat it as a partner in breath. Want to add a ritual layer? Here's a beautiful practice. Before a difficult day or important event, step outside your door. Gently touch a frond. Take one slow breath in. Whisper a short intention. Let energy move. Let clarity return. Then exhale and walk forward with that energy behind you, not stuck inside your space. Over time, you'll notice changes that go beyond the plant itself. A lightness at the entrance, greater ease in communication, a sense of emotional ventilation, even after hard days. Visitors who comment, "It feels so open here," without knowing why. These aren't coincidences. They are responses, echoes of a space that has remembered how to breathe. So ask yourself now, when was the last time the air moved gently at your door? When was the last time you opened your entrance not just to light, but to life? Because the Yucca palm doesn't just grow, it flows, it listens, it invites. And maybe what your home needs most right now isn't more things, but one living, breathing symbol that reminds you everything in nature moves. So should your energy. Let it begin where every day begins, at your front door. Section 2. Plants that quietly block fortune. Number 1. Yucca plant, the tension amplifier. At first glance, the yucca plant looks striking. Clean lines, sharp symmetry, and architectural beauty. It seems like the perfect choice for a modern home. Low maintenance, sculptural, and drought-tolerant. But here's the quiet truth Feng Shui rarely says loudly. What looks strong to the eye can sometimes feel aggressive to the spirit. This is the paradox of the yucca. While it may win the aesthetic game in a minimalist garden or sleek porch corner, it often loses the energetic one. Because behind its bold form lies a vibration that doesn't invite energy in, it challenges it. And when placed at the entrance of a home, that challenge can quietly build into tension, conflict, and energetic fatigue. Let's look at a common scenario. You plant a yucca near your front door. Maybe it's because it's easy to care for. Maybe because it just looks cool. But a few weeks in, you begin to notice subtle shifts. Restlessness among family members, difficulty sleeping, increased friction around decision-making. Nothing dramatic, just frayed edges. At first, you blame stress or timing. You don't think to look at the plant. But the tension continues. That's the moment when Feng Shui invites us to look closer, not just at what we see, but at what we feel. In the elemental language of Feng Shui, the yucca is dominated by excessive wood and fire kai. Its upright spikes shoot energy upward and outward, creating a cutting motion. Its leaves are sword-like, pointed, and stiff, forms that represent defensiveness and penetration. While this can be useful in specific external locations, such as creating energetic boundaries at a garden perimeter, it becomes problematic when this type of force is stationed at the very threshold of your home. The mouth of Kai, where opportunity, wealth, and peaceful relationships are meant to flow inward with ease. Remember, in traditional Feng Shui, the front door isn't just an entry point. It's a welcoming field. It's where heaven Kai meets human Kai. The energy here should soften, gather, and harmonize, not strike or repel. But when you place a plant with aggressive posture and piercing energy at this gate, it subtly tells fortune, this house is on guard. This house is ready for a fight. And that's not just symbolic. Over time, households with yuccas at the entrance may experience a noticeable increase in misunderstandings, especially in communication between partners. Financial tension, sudden expenses, missed opportunities, or poor decision timing. A home that feels harsh to guests or children, even if it looks beautiful. Mental agitation, the inability to fully rest or exhale when walking through the plant doesn't mean harm, but in energetic terms, its presence raises the volume in a place meant for flow. It amplifies active yang in a zone that requires balance. And just like noise, pollution, or visual clutter, it starts to wear on the nervous system over time, even if you never consciously name it. Now here's the shift. This doesn't mean the yucca is a bad plant. Feng Shui never demonizes nature. Instead, it asks us to place it where its nature serves the purpose. So, what's the solution? If you already have a yucca near your front entrance, the most effective option is relocation. Move it to a side path, rooftop edge, or back garden corner, areas where energetic boundaries are needed. In those locations, its sharp energy can act as a protective barrier, especially against fast-moving Kai from streets or chaotic neighbors. There, it can fulfill its symbolic role. A silent guardian standing strong, but not blocking the doorway of welcome. If relocation isn't possible, soften its impact. Place it in a rounded ceramic planter to ease the angular tension. Surround the base with soft-leafed companions like ferns or peace lilies to balance the hard lines with gentleness. Introduce a small water feature nearby, a bowl, a fountain, or even a reflective stone dish to cool and slow the fire Kai. You may also hang a wind chime with low tones above or near it to create acoustic softness and deflect piercing movement. Most importantly, observe. Once the plant is moved or energetically balanced, track how your space feels. Is conversation more fluid? Are your thoughts quieter as you enter the home? Are financial decisions flowing again with more ease? These are the shifts we're looking for, because in Feng Shui, nothing is neutral. And everything in your environment is part of the conversation your home is having with your life. To take this further, you can also create a small release ritual when removing or relocating the plant. Stand in front of it. Acknowledge its presence. You stood strong, you protected this space, but now we choose peace. Then gently dig or lift it and replant with gratitude. Don't discard it in haste. Transition it with care. Energy responds to consciousness always. So now take a moment and look again at your front door. What meets your eye first? A warm welcome or a silent spike? Because sometimes the very thing we planted for protection ends up keeping the blessings out. And sometimes it's not a matter of removal, but of remembering this. Even strength, if not softened, can become resistance. Even beauty, if not placed with care, can create dissonance. What kind of energy have you been unknowingly amplifying? And what might change if you made space for harmony to lead again? Number 2, dying ivy or overgrown vines. We often mistake overgrowth for abundance. A house covered in ivy, a wall wrapped in vines. It feels lush, romantic, like nature embracing the space. But in Feng Shui, not all greenery is life-giving. And what appears to be growth on the surface may, in fact, be a quiet suffocation beneath it. That's the paradox of dying ivy and overgrown vines. At first, they charm us. We see them cascading down fences or curling around porch rails, and we tell ourselves the home feels alive. But slowly, so subtly, it begins to weigh the space down. Light gets blocked, edges disappear. The structure begins to feel swallowed. And somewhere beneath all that green, the energy of the home stops breathing the way it should. A common scene. A homeowner plants ivy years ago to fill a bare wall or create privacy. At first, it grows evenly. Then it spreads up the gutters, across window frames, around the front entrance. It becomes too much. Trimming feels overwhelming, and before long, what began as beauty becomes burden. In Feng Shui, vines carry wood energy, but not the kind we seek at the mouth of Kai. They represent uncontrolled wood, wild, spreading, unrooted. Their movement is not upward like a tree or open like a palm. It is clinging, twisting, tightening. Their presence around the entrance creates a vibration of entanglement, energetically echoing patterns of being overwhelmed, unable to move forward, or emotionally stuck. Even worse is when the vines begin to die. Dry, brittle stems, yellowing leaves, patches where the plant is barely holding on. From the outside, it may still look green enough, but the Kai is different. The moment life begins to decay, a new kind of energy takes over, yin imbalance. In simple terms, too much downward, still damp energy. The kind that attracts stagnation, confusion, and low mood. The entrance of the home, in contrast, is supposed to be yang, bright, open, welcoming. It is your home's breath, its smile, its handshake to the universe. And when that space is clouded by dying or uncontrolled vines, the Kai doesn't just slow, it curls in on itself. It hesitates to enter, and this hesitation ripples. Over time, you may notice a drop in clarity, decisions feel more difficult, even simple ones. Emotional heaviness, fatigue without cause, especially in the mornings. Money flow that becomes sticky, delays in payments, unexpected bills. A sense that your home feels older or heavier, even if newly renovated. These are not aesthetic problems. They are energetic signals, quietly echoing the behavior of the plant itself. Holding on when it should release, covering instead of breathing, clinging to surfaces that are meant to stand free. But here's the beauty of Feng Shui. It always offers a way to return to balance. And the solution doesn't require uprooting everything. It begins, as always, with awareness. First, take a walk around your front entrance. Don't just look, feel. Are there vines crawling up the corners into crevices where you've stopped paying attention? Is there a sense of hidden heaviness? Are parts of the plant dry, brittle, or silently collapsing under their own weight? Next, ask yourself what those vines might be mirroring in your life. Is there an old habit, expectation, or fear that's still attached to you? Something that once felt safe or beautiful but now feels confining. Ivy rarely grows without intention, it follows a pattern. And so do we. Now begin with gentle pruning, not to destroy but to reveal. Trim only what's visibly dead first. Say a simple phrase under your breath. I release what no longer supports growth. Feel the shift. Let more light hit the wall, clear around windows and especially the door frame. This is where energy enters. Give the structure of your home its outline back. Let it breathe. If the vines are fully dead or beyond renewal, consider removing them altogether. Return the space to stillness, even if only temporarily. Clean the area, repaint if needed. Then, and only then, decide what should grow there next. Perhaps a climbing jasmine, light, fragrant, seasonal. Or perhaps nothing at all. Empty space is sacred in Feng Shui. Sometimes the most powerful shift is to simply create room. To support the energetic clearing, place a small pot of uplifting wood Kai at the doorway, something structured but vibrant, like a bamboo palm or money tree. These plants still carry wood, but in a form that rises, not clings. That opens, not hides. You may also sprinkle sea salt water or light incense where the vines once were, especially after trimming, to neutralize residual yin. Sound can help too. A soft bell rung around the doorway clears stagnant resonance and brings in fresh momentum. Most importantly, begin to treat your entrance not just as a place people walk through, but as a living invitation. What you allow to grow there reflects what you allow to grow in your life. And so we arrive at a final question, simple but deep. Are the vines at your door adding beauty to your life or entangling the path forward? Because sometimes fortune doesn't fail to arrive. It simply gets caught in the tangle of what we've let grow too long without attention. Let the air move again. Let the wall be seen. Let what grows be something that supports, not strangles, your becoming. Number 3, fake plastic plants. They don't wither, they don't demand, they don't grow. That's why so many people like them. But in the language of energy, fake plants are not silent, they are hollow. And what's missing inside them may be quietly echoing into your life in ways you've stopped noticing. Here's the unsettling truth. Placing plastic greenery at your front entrance is like placing a smile with no soul, a gesture with no breath. It looks like life, but it holds none. And in Feng Shui, where flow, vitality, and presence are everything, this illusion of life doesn't just do nothing. It can actively disturb the natural rhythm of your home. Let's start with a scene you may recognize. You move into a space and want to make it feel warm, welcoming. You buy a beautiful fake fiddle leaf fig or a plastic pothos vine, something trendy, something that looks lush without the effort. It stands near your entrance, symmetrical, green, polished. For a while you feel good about it. Guests say, "That plant looks so real," and you smile. But slowly the space feels flat, quiet in the wrong way. Like something's missing, but you can't explain it. You open the door and the air feels stale. Things stall, plans, moods, energy, and still you don't think it could be that plant. But it is. Because the most powerful energy disruptors are often the ones that pretend to carry life without actually doing so. In classical Feng Shui, living Kai is essential. It comes from movement, growth, interaction with the elements. A plant real, rooted, and breathing engages with air, light, and water. It evolves, it responds, and through that response it communicates with the field of your home, sending signals to the larger energy system. This space is alive. This space is cared for. This space is ready to grow. Now consider plastic. What does it interact with? Nothing. It doesn't shift with the sun. It doesn't release oxygen. It doesn't feed off water or adapt to seasonal rhythms. In the 5-element framework, it aligns with dead metal Kai, still manufactured cold. That's not necessarily negative in balance, but when placed in a zone that demands vibrancy, like the front door, it becomes energetically disruptive. Why? Because the mouth of Kai, the entrance to your home, is the energetic gatekeeper of your fortune. It's where opportunities, relationships, clarity, and creativity knock before stepping inside. And when what greets them is lifeless form, something stops. Kai hesitates. The invitation feels false. Over time, you may notice an overall dullness around your front entrance. Visitors who don't linger or seem less warm. Feelings of boredom, low motivation, or a creative plateau. A disconnect between what you want to attract and what actually shows up. Even worse, fake plants can become energetic placeholders, visual reminders of life you meant to nurture but haven't. They reflect the thought, I want the energy of growth, but I don't want the responsibility of tending to it. And that thought, repeated in space, can subtly reinforce habits of avoidance, emotional distance, and stagnation in your personal or financial life. So what's the remedy? It's simpler than you think. The key is restoring intention and reactivating flow. If you have fake plants at your entrance, pause for a moment before tossing them. First, ask, why did I place this here? What was I hoping to bring into my space when I chose it? That insight matters. Then choose one of 2 paths. One, replace with a real, low-maintenance plant. Don't overwhelm yourself. Choose a plant that fits your lifestyle. A snake plant, a ZZ plant, or pothos are forgiving and energetically generous. Even a small real plant, if watered and acknowledged regularly, carries more Kai than the most elegant silk alternative. Place it where the plastic one stood. Let the space feel the shift. You may even burn a bit of sandalwood or play soft chimes near the area to reset the vibration, like breathing new air into a room that's been closed too long. 2. Transform the plastic plant into a symbolic object. If for practical or rental reasons you must keep the faux greenery, make it intentional. Pair it with a real element. A bowl of salt water nearby, a candle to bring fire kai, a crystal to anchor natural resonance. Place a handwritten affirmation beneath it. This space is a portal for real connection, not illusion. By doing this, you create symbolic contrast, a reminder that what is static must be held by what is truly alive. The goal isn't perfection, it's participation. And in truth, Feng Shui is never about guilt, it's about responsiveness. A plastic plant is not a failure, it's an unopened message. And when you read it honestly, it invites you back into rhythm. Because the doorway to your life deserves to breathe. It deserves to evolve. It deserves more than a plastic promise of growth. It deserves something that moves when the light changes. Something that falls and rises with the seasons. Something that, like you, is growing, even quietly, every day. So the question is no longer, does this plant look real? The question is, does anything here feel real anymore? And if not, what would it take for your doorway and your life to feel alive again? This wasn't just a conversation about plants. It was a quiet reminder that everything we place near us, especially at the entrance of our home, is a message we're sending to life itself. A rubber plant that stands tall may reflect your quiet strength. A jade plant with its coin-like leaves may mirror your relationship with value, how you receive, how you hold, how you let go. A palm that dances with light might be asking whether you've let your own energy move freely lately, or if it's been too still for too long. And those other forms, overgrown ivy, fake greenery, thorned edges, maybe they're not just decor choices. Maybe they've become echoes of habits left unattended, entanglements you've stopped noticing, places where vitality used to flow but now pools quietly in shadow. Feng Shui is never about fear, it's about remembering. Remembering that your home is alive, that your space listens, that even a silent leaf by the door carries intention. So now, perhaps the real invitation isn't to go buy a new plant, it's to walk to your doorway and feel. Not as a designer, but as a listener. What's really growing here? What's lingering that should be released? What's waiting to be nurtured again? Because before fortune ever walks through your door, it pauses at the threshold, listening. And the space answers, not with words, but with presence. What will your entrance say next time opportunity arrives, waiting to be let in?